My wife betrayed me when her father, his company fell into her hands, so she betrayed and mocked me, knowing that we have 2 children. My wife and I married at the age of 25, and now we're both 38. We met during our college years, got married, and for the most part, life has been wonderful. Both of us completed our degrees, found good jobs, and built a life together. My wife worked for her father's small enterprise, while I joined a large corporation. Unexpectedly, my boss departed, and I was the sole person capable of keeping the department running. This resulted in a substantial pay increase, better bonuses, and improved benefits. By the age of 28, I was earning around 3 times my wife's salary. In that same year, we welcomed our first daughter, and 2 years later, our second daughter arrived. Because my wife worked for her father, she had more job flexibility. Approximately 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away suddenly, leaving my mother-in-law and wife with a tough decision: sell the business or manage it themselves. Since my mother-in-law had no experience in running the company, my wife took charge. To my astonishment, the business thrived under her leadership, just as it had under her father's. Consequently, my wife received a significant salary increase, earning more than I did. I was proud of her. Transitioning from an ordinary employee to managing an entire company is no small feat. However, our daughters began to feel the impact of our absence. That's when my wife and I discussed one of us staying home. She suggested I quit my job since her company couldn't afford to lose her. I agreed and thus became a stay-at-home dad and husband. I handled everything at home, taking care of our daughters, cooking, cleaning, fixing things, running errands, everything. When my wife returned from work, I made sure to pamper her and cater to her needs. Everything was fine until about a year ago, when my wife's attitude began to change. She started making hurtful remarks like, "Do you even do anything?" or "Why don't you get a real job?" It hurt. I worked hard every day to ensure she came home to a stress-free environment. I had a real job, but I gave it up to care for our daughters, our home, and her. My wife used to seek closeness, but recently she stopped initiating it. And whenever I asked, she was never in the mood. It was odd and confusing. I assumed she must be really stressed with everything happening in the world, so I tried to be understanding and make her happy. But no matter what I did, nothing seemed to work. Last weekend, we attended our eldest daughter's softball game. I wanted to record a video for my parents who live in another state and rarely see their granddaughters. I forgot my phone, so I asked my wife if I could use hers. She had been on her phone all day, so I thought it would be a good chance for her to take a break from it. She handed me her phone and went to get a drink and a snack. While recording my daughter, a message popped up on an app, and I decided to check it out. What I saw was unbelievable. There was a guy at my wife's workplace, 8 years younger than me, and they had been texting, sending explicit videos and pictures back and forth. They were talking about how close they were and discussing me in unflattering terms. He called me a wimp who couldn't take care of his woman, and my wife agreed with him. I was shocked and devastated. When I heard my wife returning, I quickly closed the app and resumed recording the video. On the way home, and even when we got back, my wife tried to talk to me, but honestly, I wasn't in the mood to chat. Eventually, we went to bed, and for the first time in a while, she tried to initiate intimacy. I told her I wasn't in the mood, and she snapped, saying, "If you're going to be moody about everything, fine, go sleep on the couch." So I got up and have been sleeping in the guest bedroom ever since. I'm so lost right now. I don't even know how to handle this situation. My wife meant everything to me, and my daughters are my whole world. Update. First of all, I have all the texts, pictures, and videos as evidence. Second, I don't own any part of the company. It's split 50-50 between my wife and mother-in-law. Third, I can't bear to sleep in the same bed anymore, so I've been staying in the guest bedroom every night, and that's where I'll stay. As for my decision, I've chosen to divorce her. This morning, I contacted a law firm in another town to keep things discreet. Luckily, they had a last-minute opening, so I rushed over after dropping off my girls. Long story short, the lawyer I met was excellent. I showed him all the evidence I had, and he said it would significantly benefit me in the divorce. Since I left my job to raise our girls and she's rarely home, having an affair and prioritizing this other guy over us, she's going to lose big time. The lawyer said we could get child support, alimony, I'll keep the house, and she'll have to pay for it as long as my girls live there. He also mentioned that we might be able to get more money since I'm considered not viable in the working world anymore. This extra money could help me pay for more education to find a job. Some of you were right, he advised me not to work until after the divorce is settled. Apparently, having a job could lead to losing a lot in the settlement. Then he asked if I wanted full custody of the kids. I told him I don't mind my wife spending time with them on weekends occasionally, but I'd prefer mostly full custody. The lawyer said that since she had an affair in our home, I have a strong case for full custody. Bringing a stranger into the house put our girls in danger, making her look guilty. So I'm going for full custody, allowing her to have weekends once, maybe twice a month. No man will be allowed around my girls, and if there is, she could face issues from me if I find out. I just don't want that piece of crap around my daughters. He suggested keeping quiet until the documents are ready, and then he'll arrange for someone to serve her with the divorce papers along with an order to leave the house. He expects to have everything done sometime next week. He told me to stay quiet for now, even though it's tough and I'm angry. He said to shut up until the divorce is finalized after that. I can talk all I want about her, but until then, I need to keep quiet. He wants me to act like everything is normal, no arguments, no problems, sleep in separate beds, and avoid any intimacy. I agreed, but asked why. He told me to trust him, follow his instructions, and not ask questions. I just got home and am preparing for dinner, trying to act normal. I'll keep up the charade until she's served next week. Quick note, the lawyer advised me to get an STD test and a DNA test for my girls. When I asked why, he said these situations are rare and might not be the first time this has happened. That hit me hard and scared me to my core. Update, I've been feeling really down lately, and everything's been rough. To clarify, I discussed these posts with my lawyer. I didn't go into too much detail, but they said it's okay to share as long as I keep it brief and not too specific. So for this update, I'll keep it short and legally safe. Let's start with the test results. I got an STD test for myself, and thankfully I came out clear, no diseases, which isn't surprising since I haven't been close to her in the past year. Now on to the big one, the paternity test for my 2 girls. No matter the results, I'll always be their dad, but I'm overjoyed to say I am their biological father. I've never been happier to know for sure, even though I never imagined I'd have to question it. As for what's happened with my soon-to-be ex, she's out of the house, and I've been granted full temporary custody of my girls. I'll share more details in the future, but for now, she's no longer living here. My lawyer took care of the legal process to have her removed, and it was a messy situation, but I'll save those details for later. She was served with divorce papers at her workplace, and it seems like it didn't go well, but again, more on that later. My girls are aware of what's happening. My eldest knows we're separating, and one of her friend's parents went through the same thing. She's seen what happened with her friend's family and doesn't want us to split up. She's been crying and asking me to let mommy come home. It's really tough for her. I'm going to arrange for them to see a child therapist to help them understand everything as my lawyer advised. My youngest just wants her mommy back and misses her a lot. It breaks my heart, and I feel like a terrible father right now. I worry they might hate me because of this. Sometimes I wonder if I should let their mother cheat on me just to keep the family together and make my girls happy. But I can't bring myself to do that. Another thought crosses my mind, considering an open relationship and waiting until the girls are older, but I can't accept that. Besides, I know the girls would sense it and dislike the idea that mommy and daddy don't love each other. As for my ex, she's currently living with her mother. My mother-in-law reached out to meet with me, and I agreed to see her. She didn't ask for details, but begged me not to take her granddaughters away. I reassured her that she's a wonderful grandmother, and as long as she can separate her daughter's issues from her relationship with my girls, she can still be in their lives. She thanked me, and that was that. My ex has been trying to call and text me, wanting to talk about us. Under my lawyer's guidance, we've set up a trackable method for communication strictly limited to discussing the girls, nothing more. So that's where things stand for now. Update. Hey everyone, I wanted to give you a quick update on what's been going on. First of all, I spent Thanksgiving with my soon-to-be ex and mother-in-law. I did it solely for the sake of my girls, and made sure my lawyer understood it was about them, not about getting back together. We sorted that out before Thanksgiving. I had a meeting with my mother-in-law, and we had a pretty open discussion, mainly about how well handle things with my daughters after the divorce. During our talk, my mother-in-law shared some information about my soon-to-be ex. It turns out she was cheated on by her high school boyfriend. I had no idea she even dated someone back then. This guy my mother-in-law mentioned came from a well-off family, and they warned her to stay away from him. One night, my soon-to-be ex caught him with another girl, which shocked my mother-in-law. My soon-to-be ex had a couple of boyfriends during college, but my mother-in-law knew those relationships wouldn't last. She told me that as soon as she met me, she felt like she found her perfect son-in-law. She's really sorry for her daughter's behavior and promises to make sure she doesn't cause trouble during the divorce. A few days before Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law asked me to come over for dinner with the girls. I asked if my soon-to-be ex would be there, and she said yes. I told her I couldn't do it if she was going to be there, but my mother-in-law understood and asked if we could put on a holiday act one more time for the sake of the girls. She suggested I consult my lawyer to see if spending Thanksgiving together was a bad idea, so I did. The lawyer advised me to inform my wife through our communication app that this dinner was solely for the girls, to prevent any misunderstandings. I followed his advice. My soon-to-be ex had been constantly reaching out, begging to see both me and the girls themselves were pleading to see their mom. For their sake, I decided to put my pride aside and agreed to go over for dinner. When we arrived, the atmosphere was tense. My soon-to-be ex embraced our daughters, which was fine, but then she tried to hug and kiss me. I dodged her attempt and instead greeted my mother-in-law. My soon-to-be ex behaved as if we were still a loving couple, trying to engage me in conversation. I kept my responses brief and focused on helping my mother-in-law with dinner preparations and cleanup. My devout mother-in-law wanted to say a prayer before dinner, and my soon-to-be ex sat next to me. I held my daughter's hand, but when my wife tried to hold mine, I pulled away. It might seem petty, but I couldn't stand her touch. Although I'm an atheist, I participated in the prayer out of respect for my mother-in-law. Dinner went smoothly, except my soon-to-be ex kept pretending we were still together, asking about Christmas plans and family vacations. That's when I realized agreeing to this dinner was a mistake. After dinner, I washed the dishes, eager to leave, but my daughters wanted to watch a movie with their mom, a family tradition. I reluctantly agreed, but when my soon-to-be ex tried to cuddle next to me on the couch, I moved to a chair. Throughout the evening, my mother-in-law was visibly upset with her daughter's behavior, evident in the glare she directed at her. When the movie ended, we prepared to leave. My daughters had fallen asleep, so I carried them to the car. As I went back inside to grab something, my soon-to-be ex cornered me, tearfully begging to work things out and be a family again. Before I could respond, my mother-in-law intervened, yanking her away by the hair no less, and sternly saying goodnight to me. So I talked to my lawyer and explained everything. I emphasized that there's no possibility of reconciliation, which was clear in my messages. The lawyer assured me that's fine. Now my wife keeps calling and begging to work things out, but I'm leaving her messages unread. I'll only discuss matters related to the girls, and I'm pretty sure they'll want to do something for Christmas. I'll check with my lawyer about that. Update. Things have been really tough for my girls. They had 2 therapy sessions this week. The first one went well. They seemed more at peace afterward. The therapist seems to understand them well. However, the second session was a disaster. The therapist explained in an age-appropriate way that their mom had an affair and betrayed me. I knew this day would come, but not this soon. When I picked up my girls, they burst into tears and clung to me, saying they love me. It's heartwarming, but this wasn't how I wanted them to find out about the separation. I asked the therapist why she told them, and she explained that the girls were aware of the separation and noticed my coldness towards their mother. She said kids aren't dumb, they can sense their parents' behavior. They wanted to know why we were separating, and the therapist believed honesty was crucial for their progress. I won't go into all the details of what she said, but it was appropriate for their age. They now know their mother was unfaithful in a way they can comprehend. My oldest might handle it better, but my youngest is struggling. When we got home, my girls wouldn't let go of me, crying the whole night. I ordered food, put on their favorite movies, and we stayed in my bedroom. They eventually fell asleep, and I went to the bathroom and broke down. My soon-to-be ex doesn't even realize the pain she's caused our girls. I'm at a loss. The therapist suggested medication to help them adjust, but I refused. I don't want to drug them. The therapist understood and said it was just an option. But we'd need to consult their primary doctor for that. I'd rather help my daughters cope with their emotions healthily. As for Christmas, I won't have to worry because my daughters now despise their mother. I was taken aback when my oldest said she never wants to see her mom again. Even my youngest, who usually follows her sister's lead, seems to agree. I tried to tell them that despite their anger, they shouldn't hate her because she loves and cares about them. My oldest insisted she doesn't, and they both cried in my arms until they fell asleep. Update. It might sound like a bad movie sequel, but the girls are doing better. They're still seeing the same therapist and are gradually coming to terms with everything. They no longer hate their mother, but have told me they don't want to see her for a long time. Those are their words, not mine. We'll see how that unfolds. I informed my wife that the girls know about her affair, and she tried calling them. They answered, but have maintained their boundaries. I think she's finally realizing the gravity of her actions. Regarding the other guy involved, I already knew he was a jerk, but he's worse than I thought. Someone asked if there was another person in the affair, so I looked through some of my wife's work documents and found a list of employees' contact numbers. I called his number, which turned out to be his wife's. It turns out he's married with a toddler, which I didn't know. When I told his wife about the affair, she didn't believe me and hung up. But later she called back and wanted to meet. We met, and I showed her all the evidence. She asked if we could talk in my car, and as soon as we got in, she broke down, crying and asking how he could do this to her. I reassured her she did nothing wrong and gave her my lawyer's contact information. She then asked how long the affair had been going on, and I told her it had been about a year, maybe a bit longer. That's when her sadness turned into sheer rage. Curious, I asked why she was so furious. She revealed the truth behind her wig. She had battled cancer after their child was born. While she was in the hospital, they discovered a tumor. Over the past year and a half, she had undergone 2 surgeries, chemotherapy, and was on medication. Despite all that, she looked great, which surprised me. She said she had beaten the disease and was doing better, but she and her husband hadn't been intimate for about 2 years during her pregnancy and cancer treatment. Intimacy was impossible. She got very sick while pregnant, and the disease took a significant toll on her. As she started to feel better, she struggled with her self-image due to weight gain from the meds, hair loss, and not feeling as attractive as before. She wanted to surprise her husband with intimacy now that she felt ready, but discovering his affair shattered that plan. She cried about her child growing up in a broken home, and I tried to comfort her. She then tried to get close to me, but I gently declined, explaining that she wasn't in the right state of mind, and it wouldn't be healthy for either of us. She thanked me for my honesty. Later, she asked for the evidence, and I gave it to her before she went home. We've texted a few times since, as we're both going through this difficult time, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks to those who suggested reaching out to the other betrayed spouse, I hadn't considered it. Update. Hey everyone. I wanted to share how Christmas went with the other betrayed spouse. All things considered, it turned out to be a surprisingly nice and wonderful day. I set up a bunch of presents from Santa for the girls, since this might be the last year my oldest believes in Santa, and I wanted to make it special. I laid out the gifts early in the morning while it was still dark. Within 15 minutes of waking up, the girls were excitedly declaring that Santa had come. I dragged myself out of bed, and they eagerly tore into their presents. Their joy was contagious. Afterward, we snuggled up on the couch and watched a movie, and they fell asleep next to me. Eventually, I got up to make some coffee. My youngest woke up and said she was hungry, so I let her help me make breakfast while she wore an apron. My oldest soon joined us, and we all enjoyed a good meal together. They spent the morning playing with their new toys and having a blast, which warmed my heart. In the evening, I helped them get ready to go see their mother and grandmother. Normally, I'm more strict about getting ready, but with everything that's been happening, I've been more lenient. They were ready, but expressed that they really didn't want to go see their mom. I reassured them that their mom loves them, and my therapist had advised me to encourage their relationship for their healthy development. Otherwise, my wife could claim in court that I'm isolating them. The therapist said the girls can decide on their relationship with their mother as they get older. My wife knows about the therapist, and they've spoken. The therapist made it clear that my wife had betrayed me, and it's evident that I'm the girls' favorite. She'll have to work hard to regain their trust and love. I told the girls not to punish Grandma for their mother's actions and to go see her. They agreed. I took them to their grandmother's place, and everything went smoothly. I called my mother-in-law when we arrived, and she came out to get the girls' things. They were staying the night for Christmas, and my mother-in-law asked if it was okay. I checked with my lawyer, who said it was fine for one night, just not for extended periods or too often. Before leaving, I assured the girls they could call me any time if they wanted to come back home, and I'd be there for them. As I was leaving, my soon-to-be ex came out. She seemed confused by something my mother-in-law had said, and my mother-in-law sternly told her no. My soon-to-be ex looked at me with teary eyes and waved as I drove off. I had left food in the oven on warm for the other betrayed spouse, who eventually showed up. She arrived without her toddler. When I asked where they were, she explained that her in-laws wanted to spend Christmas with them, and the toddler's father also wanted to see them. She had worked out a similar arrangement with her lawyers, so it was fine. She was dressed nicely in a pretty dress, leggings, fluffy boots, and a stylish wig. We had dinner together and shared stories about our pasts, getting to know each other better. After dinner, we settled on the couch to watch a movie and continued chatting. Eventually, I decided to open a bottle of wine. I don't drink much, but I enjoy a particular wine on Christmas. I asked if she could have some, and after ensuring she was comfortable with it, I poured her a glass. Our conversation transitioned from our past to our interests, and finally to our current struggles, which led to some tears. As we drank more, we started joking and laughing. Surprisingly, after 2 bottles, our conversation became more candid. We talked about our intimate preferences, what we missed, and what we desired. It turned out we were quite similar in those aspects. She mentioned that my wife was lucky but had messed up, and I responded that her husband was no different. Some of you suggested I should compliment her looks, especially after her previous attempt to get my attention, but I thought it was inappropriate. However, I did tell her she could take off the wig if she felt more comfortable without it, reassuring her that she looked amazing. I even complimented her on how beautiful she looked with a pixie cut. She took off the wig, thanked me, and teared up a bit. We continued our intimate conversation and eventually ended up cuddling while watching the movie. Okay, just a heads up, we were both pretty drunk. Back when my wife and I used to cuddle, my soon-to-be ex liked it when I gently rubbed her chest, not grabbing or pinching, just a soft massage. I did it out of habit, and when she said it felt good, I got startled and immediately stopped, apologizing for not realizing what I was doing. She told me it was fine and even asked if I could keep going since it helped her unwind. I asked her again to be sure, and she confirmed with a yes. So, I continued. I have to admit it started to turn me on, and she picked up on that. She began to touch me as well, which made me apologize awkwardly. She asked if I wanted her to stop, but I told her only if she wanted to. She chose to keep going. This led to us kissing and getting more intimate. Before long, she was unzipping my pants and giving me oral. After that, we had some pretty intense sessions all over the house, the living room, kitchen, and office. Eventually, we found our way to my bed, where things became more passionate and slow, with lots of kissing. After we finished, we lay together, shedding a few tears before falling asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, we had breakfast together and showered. I asked if she had planned all this, and she laughed, saying, "A girl always comes prepared." Before leaving, she asked if I felt anything special last night. I told her the truth, saying yes. We agreed we needed to be cautious and make sure our feelings were genuine and not just a reaction to the situation. She said we'd explore them later. As she left, she kissed me on the cheek and thanked me for a wonderful night, promising to text me later. I picked up my girls, who said they had a good time with their mom and mentioned she was well-behaved for the most part. Right now, I've just finished preparing dinner and will spend the evening with my girls. Update. I know it's been a while since my last update. Things have been incredibly busy, so I'll keep this brief. The girls are doing much better now thanks to therapy and staying active. They still have their tough moments, but overall, they're improving. As for me and the other betrayed spouse, we still talk almost daily, but we haven't been physical since that night. We did meet once more and both agreed that while we don't regret it, it shouldn't have happened. Now, regarding my soon-to-be ex. For a few weeks after Christmas, she kept trying hard to get me to talk, but that has mostly stopped. She's hired a lawyer, my lawyer is aware, and our meetings will start soon. She's finally accepted that I'm done and there's no changing my mind. I'm sure they'll push for reconciliation, but that's not happening. She still calls and texts, trying to make me reconsider, but I just leave her messages unread. Regarding the other spouse's ex, he's been arrested. I won't go into too much detail now, but he confronted my soon-to-be ex at her workplace, and they got into a heated argument. She threatened to call the cops, and he physically attacked her. Others at her workplace intervened and held him until the police arrived and arrested him. My soon-to-be ex is pressing charges. I'm not sure if he'll involve a lawyer for their affair, but I haven't heard anything yet. My mother-in-law told me about it and said I could visit my wife if I wanted to. Apparently, he gave her a black eye and busted her lip, but my mother-in-law thinks it's karma. I haven't seen my wife since the incident, nor have the girls. Unless something crazy happens, you probably won't hear from me until after our first meeting with the lawyers. Update, hey everyone, just a quick update on everything. A lot has been happening and life can get pretty hectic, but I'll summarize as best I can. Let's start with my girls. They were making good progress and seemed better, but as the divorce date nears and they realize we're really going our separate ways, they've started to struggle. Their therapist says they've accepted the situation but had hoped we'd somehow work things out. The reality of the divorce is hitting them hard. My youngest is coping okay, but I'm really worried about my oldest. She's been feeling really down, and it's concerning. I'm following the therapist's advice and doing everything I can, but the therapist suggests medication, and I'm hesitant. It might get to a point where medication is the only option for her. She's usually healthy, but I've noticed some of her clothes don't fit well, and I think she's eating less. Her doctor and I have talked about adding nutrients to her food to help her gain weight. I hope we can figure this out soon because it's starting to worry me a lot. I feel like I'm failing as a father because I never wanted my daughter to go through this. If you're religious, I'd appreciate your prayers for my daughters.